What's going on, everybody? I'm Jay, back again with another Switch Essentials video to get before the Switch 2 launches. Last time, this video on screen right now, link on the card as well, told you about 37 physical games that I think every collection should have, the Essentials. And today we're talking about the Essentials as well, but this is kind of a different take on that. These are the Essential ports. One of the predominant pieces of Switch mythology is that it is nothing but a port machine, and while that it is not necessarily true, I don't hate the fact that there are a lot of ports on the Switch. So today I've got 42 physical games for you to look at. We're going to go through each and every one of them. We're going to talk about them real quick. We're going to look at each and every game. And we're kicking things off with what I think is the newest Essential Switch port. Of course, this is on the list. This features my favorite RPG series of all time. This is the Suikoden 1 and Suikoden 2 HD remasters. And I should be clear here. Ports in this case aren't just going to be a port. This also includes remasters and things like that, reimaginings. So consider that the blanket statement. So if something doesn't, if you're going to get up in arms about it not technically being a port, save it. I already know. But Suikoden 1 and 2. So I have had this now for about a week. I've already dumped 30 hours into the original Suikoden game, playing it for the first time in probably about 5 years. And I just love this series. I think it is one of the best written RPG series ever made. I think the stories are fantastic. It is a marvelous collection of the first and second Suikoden games, the two best games in the series. And it is just, it's a remarkable collection. I really cannot express enough how much I appreciate Konami taking this port seriously and releasing it to the masses finally, because this is something that for me is an important collection to have. It's an important collection of games because these games are so important to me. So, I mean, granted, yeah, it's just a personal thing here, but seeing as how much I love these games, I couldn't do this video and not have this on the list. Next up, a remastered telling of a classic Game Boy Color game. This is The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. This is a wonderful game. It got a lot of kind of rough notoriety when it first released because there were some complaints about kind of like some slowdown, frame rate jumping and things like that. And I gotta be honest with you, I never really had it affect me to the point where it was bothering me when I played it. Instead, I just got a great game. It's something where I actually missed the original Link's Awakening on the Game Boy Color. I never played it upon their initial release. I was kind of past the Game Boy at that point, and the only things I was playing on the Game Boy were Pokemon games. So I never played it. And it was something that it took me until this Switch release to try out. And I was kind of blown away by the idea of the story, kind of the concept of it. I loved the look of it. It looked like a toy to me. And I just thought it was fantastic. And I think it plays brilliantly well. It's a great kind of alternative take on the Legend of Zelda franchise, and can't really complain about that. Anytime the Zelda franchise wants to try something new and try something different, I approve of it. Also, I want to apologize real quick for my voice. I am getting over being sick. This is the first video in over a week now for me, so apologies for that. If my voice goes in and out, that's what's up. And Spork says hi. Next up, I actually have to thank my... It's going to sound really pompous. I have to thank myself for wanting to get this one because I wasn't a huge Kirby fan until I kind of leaned into the Kirby franchise and did my Kirby ranking video a little while ago. Link on the card right now if you want to check that out. And this is Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe. I was really impressed with the Kirby franchise when I kind of went back and revisited it. When I was younger and tried it for the first time, it just didn't click for me. It wasn't something I enjoyed. So being able to go back to the franchise now and enjoy it and love it as much as I do, and to get this absolutely stunning remaster of this game is really kind of remarkable to me. It's a wonderful game, a really fantastic retelling of the original Kirby's Return to Dreamland, and it's something where I look at it and I am just appreciative that Nintendo is still willing to do stuff like this. Now, is it a necessary port? Not really necessary, no, but I think in the grand pantheon of ports on the Switch, this is one of the best ones. So this is something you missed out playing when you were younger, or you just wanted to see it kind of with an updated take, don't overlook this one. Here is a Wii U port, and this is really where people kind of lean into the Switch as a port machine thing, because yeah, there are a ton of Wii U ports on the Nintendo Switch. That is something that we can't deny. And here's one that I skipped on its initial Wii U release because it wasn't something that I really was interested in. Until I kind of read more about it. And this is Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE Encore. This is a really interesting kind of take on the Fire Emblem series, believe it or not, from the Persona team. And it's a game that leans into Japanese idol culture, which is really interesting, like kind of like American Idol. But it also leans heavily into kind of like Persona based combat and storytelling. It's a really intriguing game, and I think it's a really remarkable title. And one that I wasn't prepared to enjoy. Like, I picked this up kind of on a whim. I saw it at my local GameStop and picked it up, and I wasn't expecting to... Oh, no, actually, I got this one on Amazon, I believe. But I picked it up on a whim. Either way, it was a whim. That's why I got it. And I was really blown away by it. I think it's a really strong title. And I think that more ports like this are important, because this was on a system that only sold 13 million units. It was something that was overlooked. It was something that was missed by a lot of folks. So giving people the opportunity to play it is a good thing. This is one of my favorite ports on the Switch, and it's a very silly port because it's not necessarily a port. This is very much a remaster and a retelling of an arcade original and an NES original. And it's one that I had played a couple of times when I was younger. And I got this as an opportunity at my local GameStop. Someone had pre-ordered this version of it. It comes with an arcade machine that you can actually put your Switch into and play the games on. And someone just never picked it up. So the manager at my local GameStop asked me if I was interested, and it is Toki. This is a really fun arcade game where you play as a man who turns into a monkey. You get to wear a football helmet. You can spit fire at your enemies and spit seeds at them, and that's how you defeat them. And it's true arcade difficult, and it's just brilliant. I absolutely love it. It's silly, it's fun, it does not take itself seriously in any way, shape, or form, and I think that's kind of really what you want when it's a video game about a caveman that turns into a monkey and wears a football helmet. This is a really cool port. This is one from an SNES game, and I might be wrong on this one, because I will be honest with you, I'm not really familiar with the SNES original. I played it a couple of times, but I'm not intimately familiar with it, so when I look at something like Pocky and Rocky Reshrined, to me that means port, because it's reshrined. I'm thinking that means remastered. So if this isn't a completely original game, just, hey, bonus. But it's something where I was really kind of interested in it, because I had always heard how great Pocky and Rocky was, but I didn't really remember enjoying it when I was younger and tried it. So to get this and be able to play this on the Switch and just be like, oh yeah, no, this game is great. It's a marvelous, marvelous little game. There's a familiarity to the way the game plays. It's kind of a shooter, but not really a shooter. There's wave after wave of enemies on the screen that you're going to have to defeat. You are kind of moving around in like a three-quarter top-down view, which is kind of similar to the way Blaster Master played when you were in your dungeon levels. But it's a little bit different than Blaster Master as well, because there's a lot of enemies that are coming at you. And the different power-ups and things you're able to collect make it feel a little bit like Gradius. It's a really unique experience, and this is just a marvelous title, and it's super fun. A port of a generation, kind of like... I mean, the Switch is kind of the 0.5 generation of when this one released on, but this is a port that I remember when I did my original video that's playing on screen right now, I kind of said I was excited about this one because this is one I never thought I'd see on the Switch, and I don't think anyone ever really thought it would be seen on the Switch, because most people thought it was going to be PlayStation exclusive forever, and that's Persona 5 Royal. I was really excited to be able to play this portably. I loved it on the PlayStation 4. It was the first Persona game I really got into. And to be able to have it play, perform, look, and sound as great as it does on the Nintendo Switch was really remarkable to me. It's something that I think, it's one of the few games that I feel really earned every accolade it received. Because it is such a remarkable title, and it's such a transformative title that I think a lot of people instantly felt a connection to Joker and the Phantom Thieves that was unmistakable and undeniable, and that's pretty cool. It's a brilliant game, though. If you haven't played it, you're in for a very, very deep title. There's a lot of emotional beats in it, a lot of very heavy storytelling being done here by Atlas, and it's wonderful. I can't suggest this one enough. Now for something that is not deep, emotional, or turbulent in any way, shape, or form, but is in fact quite silly and really, really enjoyable. This is Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz HD. This, I believe, originally released on the Wii. I apologize, I'm kind of doing this off the cuff as I'm recording. I didn't do a whole lot of research on any of this stuff, as you can tell. And it's something where I had never played the Wii original, but I'm a huge fan of the original Super Monkey Ball and the second one that released on the GameCube, so I was very excited to try it. And I remember when I finally got it in and I was able to play it, it felt like coming home. Because the games are a signature experience, and they're a signature remarkable experience that are just so uniquely themselves that don't try to be anything but Monkey Ball. And that's rare in today's gameplays, and it's something that's, I think, really, really commendable. And it's fantastic. Like, it looks great, it sounds great, the gameplay is wonderful, the different multiplayer modes are excellent. It's just a really wonderful game. And I'm so appreciative of Sega for taking the Switch at its value and looking at it and going, there's something really special here, and we need to support this heavily, because there has been so many incredible releases on this system from Sega that I don't think it can be overlooked. A first-party Nintendo title now, and one that I don't think we all really expected to see. I think a lot of us kind of were throwing it out into the universe and hoping that we would be able to will it into existence, and I'm glad that we did, because, I mean, it's amazing. This is Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. Now, there's not a ton of improvements in this one based on the GameCube original, because the GameCube original was nearly perfect in every single way. But it is a fantastic title that looks, sounds, and performs brilliantly well in the Nintendo Switch. It is just a miraculously funny RPG story that is really, really well done. It doesn't take itself seriously as far as a storyline goes, but the gameplay is deeply serious. There's some really compelling gameplay going on here that is outside of just standard turn-based fare. There's a lot of timing-based events and things like that. There's different characters that you can swap in and use. There's some really great story moments. It's a clever, wonderful, and solid RPG, and I'm so excited that we got this one, because while Origami King had its good points, it wasn't something that I really enjoyed overall, but this was a beautiful Paper Mario palate cleanser. Another one that ported over from the PlayStation 4, and I think is one of the best definitive editions ever released, and something that is another RPG here, but a very different RPG from Paper Mario. This is Dragon Quest XI-S Echoes of an Elusive Age. I am a huge fan of the Dragon Quest series. It was one of my first RPGs I played when I was younger. I remember getting my copy of Dragon Warrior in from Nintendo Power and being blown away that they saw fit to send me, young master Jay Malone, a free Nintendo game. They wouldn't do this for anybody. They would do it for everybody, but whatever. And it was something that I was just blown away by, because it was very different than any other RPG that I'd ever played. It was more unforgiving. It was more grindy. It was more, I guess, deliberate in its action. Like Final Fantasy was a little bit more forgiving and a little bit more exciting, a little bit more high fantasy, whereas Dragon Warrior felt a little bit grim and gritty and a little bit more, I guess, serious, despite the fact that you were fighting, like smiling slimes and smiling bats and things like that. It was still something that I felt was a little bit more serious than Final Fantasy, just because the gameplay was more difficult, and the world exploration, I think, felt a little bit more intimidating than going around Final Fantasy's world. It was a wonderful game. And this one here is just a remarkable experience in and of itself. The character of Hero and all the different supporting cast members that you have is amazing. The gameplay is wonderful. The look is fantastic. The music is beautiful. It's a nearly perfect RPG experience from top to bottom, as far as I'm concerned. All right, the rare port from the 3DS, and this isn't something that happens terribly often on the Switch, but it's something I wish would happen more often, and I hope we actually see a lot more 3DS and DS ports over to the Switch 2, although I don't know exactly how they're going to make that work unless there's a second screen attachment, which, you know, fingers crossed, I think that'd be amazing. But this is Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. It's the Luigi's Mansion game. Like, if you haven't played one, you play as Luigi, you're afraid of everything, you have a vacuum cleaner with a flashlight on it, you suck up ghosts. That's the entire thing. You explore, you're looking for secrets, you're trying to find items to improve your backpack, to improve your vacuum cleaner, and you go on, you hang out with Dr. Egad. It's wonderful. They're charming, they're funny, they're silly, and they're great. One that is proving to be more difficult to find than I had expected, and I feel that that's really on me, because Nintendo did tell us that this was going to be hard to find. This is going to be a limited time release, and it is the Super Mario All-Stars 3D collection featuring Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, and Mario Galaxy. It is a really great collection of wonderful games. Two of them are better than one of them, I will admit. I'm not a huge fan of Mario 64. I know, tar and feather me all you want, but it's just something I've never really been overly impressed or excited by. But to have all three games in one collection, and to have them be slightly improved to operate better on the Switch Pro controller is a big deal. And they're fun. Like, it's just a fun collection to have. They're great games to have in one set. I really do wish we had gotten Mario Galaxy 2. This is actually the game that made me enjoy the first Mario Galaxy. I wasn't a big fan of it on the Wii, but I do enjoy it here on the Switch. It's a really great collection, though, and if you can find it for a reasonable price, I do urge you to pick it up, because it's a great thing to have in your collection. One that also ported over from the PlayStation 4 generation onto the Switch, and one that I didn't expect to work nearly as well as it did, and not one I expected to enjoy, because the few times I had tried to play it on both my PS4 and my Xbox One, I just didn't get into it. I couldn't connect to it until I had it handheld, and I was able to play it on my couch while my wife was watching a movie one night, and it's The Witcher 3. This gives you every piece of DLC, gives you some really neat feelies. You actually get a map and a book and things like that. I think it's really great, and it's a really cool way to experience the story of Geralt of Riva, and it's it's kind of remarkable to be able to do that and to enjoy it as much as I did, because I didn't expect to. It's a really good game. He said, surprising absolutely no one, because everyone told me it was great for years, but it's something that I think is a necessary collector's piece for Switch fans, because even if you aren't an RPG fan, if you're not into RPGs and you just can't get into the genre, I think The Witcher 3 is going to do enough with a compelling story and with compelling gameplay that's going to make you want to keep playing it, because it's an action RPG. It plays more like a Zelda game than it does a traditional turn-based RPG. I think there's something there for everybody, if I'm being honest. Next, a port of multiple games, a collection of games, and one that was immediately, to me, was going to be one of the best games of the year, and it was the year it released. It was in my top 10, and that is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Cowabunga Collection. Not only do you get all the NES games, all the Super Nintendo, all the Genesis games, you also get a bunch of arcade games and the handheld games on the Game Boy. And it's wonderful. Each one plays great. There are improvements to each of them to make them play better. I think it's a really wonderful collection, and something that it kind of signified to me when they did this one that Konami was taking this generation of games more seriously. We had things like the Castlevania collection and the Contra collection before this, which are both excellent, and then the Castlevania Dominus collection, which is also fantastic. But this one in particular made me realize that they were taking it really seriously, and that carried forward to the Suikoden 1 and 2 remasters as well. Incidentally, the Castlevania collections and the Contra collection are not on this list because I don't own them physically. I actually have them digitally, but they would be on here as well because they're magnificent. One of my favorite franchises is the Tales series from Namco Bandai, and I was really excited that we got the Tales of Vesperia re-released on the Nintendo Switch. This is the Ultimate Edition, or the Definitive Edition, I should say. It is a fantastic game. Tells a great story, looks fantastic, sounds great. It's a wonderful RPG that has a really creative combat system that all the Tales games have, but this one in particular I think is my favorite just because I originally played this on the Xbox 360, and it was something that I fell in love with there, and to get it ported over to the Switch and to have it perform as well as it does, I think is amazing. It's a beautiful game, fantastic game, really fun, and if you need an introduction to the Tales series, you can't go wrong with Symphonia. I haven't played the Symphonia remastered on the Switch, so I can't suggest that one here. That is, originally I played that on the GameCube. I thought it was wonderful, but Vesperia is magnificent. A remaster I never thought I would see. I originally played this on the OG Xbox and was blown away by it. It was my first Oddworld game that I played, and it was one that I thought was amazing because it was an Oddworld first-person shooter, and that's Oddworld Stranger's Wrath. This is the HD remaster. This is one that I was blown away by. Like I said, I never expected to see this remastered and released on the Switch. It's a wonderful game. The character of Stranger is amazing. The gameplay is solid. It's an Oddworld game, so it's serious, but it's also irreverent. So there's some serious points being made and there's some serious subject matter, but it's also decidedly silly. So if you're looking for something like that kind of puts you in this neat Wild West setting with a really cool character that's a little bit Clint Eastwood, and it's a first-person shooter where you get to shoot like bugs at people and have them attack. This is the game for you. Love this because this is one that I had only played briefly when I was younger, and I was so excited to see it released on the Switch and to see it get a stunning, absolutely stunning remaster from .emu, who has done just like yeoman's work on games on the Nintendo Switch. This is Wonder Boy the Dragon's Trap. This is the remaster. It is a beautiful game. It is a classic Master System platformer that is it's a beautiful game, and it plays incredibly well. You are able to power your character up, you turn into a dragon, you can hot swap between the remastered hand-drawn visuals that .emu did, or you can switch over to the original Master System presentation as well, and it's stunning to see, and it's stunning to experience, and it's just super fun, and there's so much cool stuff. Like, it actually comes with a manual and like a cell phone charm and things like that. It's just super cool. One of my favorite little details is that they actually made the cart, they made the sticker on the cart look like a sticker on a Master System game. And to me, that's just a really awesome attention to detail. Something like that I just think is super cool. It adds nothing to the game, but it adds a whole lot to the overall experience. Next up, another first-party Nintendo game, and one that was just featured on the screen behind me a couple minutes ago. This is a great collection of turn-based strategy games, a fantastic series that I wish Nintendo cared more about and would do more with. Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp. This was a remaster of the first 2 Advance Wars games that released on the Game Boy Advance that was redone and updated by Way Forward. The games are fantastic, full of memorable characters, great dialogue, amazing music, fantastic gameplay. Just seriously, one of the best series of games ever is Advance Wars, and this collection is magnificent. And I do think I'm going to be going a little bit faster as I talk about these because my voice is starting to go completely. Next up, one that I was kind of surprised we saw a remaster released on the Switch of, but I guess I probably shouldn't have been because we've seen it remastered a couple of times now. Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. I am a big fan of the Xenoblade series. I think the first one is probably my favorite. I haven't had a chance to play 3 yet because I'm still working my way through 2, so I can't say anything there. But the first Xenoblade Chronicles is remarkable. Although I do like X. X would be on this list too once it releases. I'm sure it's going to be a wonderful port. I haven't picked it up yet though, because it's, it's not out. But Xenoblade Chronicles, full experience. It's remastered. It controls incredibly well. It looks great. Combat is really fun in the Xenoblade games. It's a little bit different than traditional role-playing games. There's some really neat kind of arts that you're able to do where you're actually able to toggle over to different moves and things like that. You can position yourself differently in combat. Great upgrades, great combat, great characters. It's the whole package. It's a really fantastic game. I don't usually get into the Warriors games, but the Nintendo-based ones, or the one-piece ones, I've really enjoyed. And the one that I want to talk about now is Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition. This is really cool because this gets you not only the original Hyrule Warriors, which released on, I believe, the Wii U, it also gets you all the DLC that was added to the 3DS version. So you get every single character, which is super cool, and every single piece of DLC is included in this game. The games are fantastic, they're fun, they're really awesome to just play and turn your brain off. They are hack and slash adventures, and that's all you need to know. They're really fun, they're really fast, and they're cool. Like it's neat to be able to use like Link or Zelda and just wipe out an entire crowd of enemies with your powers. It's just fun. One I featured in this previous video that was up here earlier as well is the Capcom Fighting Collection. I won't spend a ton of time on this one other than tell you it's a collection of fantastic fighting games. The Marvel vs. Capcom collection as well should be in this list, but I've talked about that so many times on this channel that I feel it's kind of overdone. I don't really need to tell you it's an essential. You should know by now. It's amazing. But this one is fantastic. It gets you a bunch of different games. The games are fantastic. They all play great. They're all like amazing arcade ports, and they're just wonderful. A port of 2 fantastic games from the Nintendo GameCube, remastered here on the Nintendo Switch. It's an amazing card battler RPG. This is Baten Kaitos 1 and 2 HD. These are really interesting games that were my first real exposure to card battle games when I was younger. These were ones that I had never really played before. It was never a genre I was familiar with. And to be able to play this and kind of see what the idea was behind how they wanted to organize the battles and the way you were able to kind of build your deck and equip your characters to be able to combat themselves or to be able to combat the enemy was really neat. I really appreciated that, and actually led me to loving card battler games since then. This one is fantastic though. If you haven't played it, it's definitely worth checking out. Final Fantasy XII: The Zodiac Age. I loved the concept of Final Fantasy XII when it originally released on the PlayStation 2. Big fan of the Final Fantasy Tactics series. I love the world of Ivalice, and I was always disappointed that they never turned a proper Final Fantasy game back to Ivalice until we got Final Fantasy XII. But the original PlayStation release, or PlayStation 2 release, just didn't click for me. And I liked it, but it wasn't perfect. It wasn't what I was expecting. It wasn't what I was hopeful for. And when this came out, I was cautiously optimistic because I heard it had a lot of improvements, and getting to play it, it has everything fixed. A lot of the combat problems are solved. A lot of the kind of like clunkiness of the interface are solved. The world is still amazing. The story is still excellent. It is one of my favorite Final Fantasy games, and I strongly urge anyone who wants to play it to play the Zodiac Age release because it's magnificent. Next up, this is a twofer. This is going to be 2 games that I'm going to feature here from the same series just because they're amazing. And we've been spoiled by this series on the Nintendo Switch because we've gotten, I think, every single one released, but it's Darksiders 1 and Darksiders 2. These are amazing remasters of really solid, kind of over-the-top silly games where you play as the Horseman of the Apocalypse and you're trying to shut down the apocalypse. Yeah, just go with it. They're great games, though. They're really fun. Each one plays a little bit differently. Genesis is my personal favorite of the Darksiders series just because it's very different than the other ones, but 1 and 2 here are spectacular. They're kind of like aggressive, over-the-top hack-and-slash adventures. They're really fun. Great collection here of some awesome games from Capcom. This is Monster Hunter Stories 1 and 2. These games are great. These are Different than the traditional Monster Hunter games, which I'm not a huge fan of, but the Monster Hunter Stories games I really like because they're more story-focused, they're more traditional RPG experiences, and they're a little bit lighter, they're a little bit sillier, and these games are wonderful. Monster Hunter Stories 2 initially received a physical release on its own, but getting 1 and 2, 1 initially released on the 3DS, getting that released on the Switch here is awesome. Great remasters. So half a port, half a remaster, and a great collection. Legitimately never thought I'd see this remastered. Legitimately never thought I'd see this re-released on modern audiences, but excited that it exists because Pac-Man World Repack is magnificent. It is a traditional 3D platformer collectathon where you are playing as Pac-Man, collecting power pellets, going through and finding different, like the fruits and things like that that you need to unlock different areas of the levels. You fight ghosts, you fight other enemies. It's very simple. It does not break the mold in any way, shape, or form. I hope we get Pac-Man World 2 repack eventually someday, one day down the road. I think that would be amazing. But for now, we have the first one, and it's well worth playing. It's a really solid game. One of the best remasters on the Nintendo Switch is Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. I loved Super Mario 3D World on the Wii U. I thought it was a brilliant game. I thought it was one of the best titles released on that console, on a console that really had a lot of good games that were just super underappreciated. This was head and shoulders above all of them. It is a brilliant title and just super fun to play with some really, really great power-ups and really great gameplay elements. There's some wonky camera work at times, but if you can get past that, you're in for a treat. The Bowser's Fury stuff I haven't touched yet, but I've seen my friend Aldo play over on the Norwalk Public Library video game streams every Friday, and it looked like a blast. So can't suggest this one enough. Absolutely amazing game. Here's one that also ported from the Wii U, another first-party Nintendo title. And again, I don't have a problem with it because so many people missed it because the Wii U sold so poorly. This is Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. Absolutely amazing game. Absolutely wonderful collection of puzzles and different kind of like tableaus that you're able to work your way through, and kind of, it's like diorama exploration. It's really, really neat. It's something where you pull a thread and things move and you need to find a different way through a path. It's just a really clever game that only Nintendo could have done as well as they did. It's a really nearly perfect title as far as I'm concerned. Absolutely fantastic to play, wonderful to experience, just a great game overall. Another great collection, this one from Sunsoft. No, that would be cool, God. A Sunsoft collection of classic NES games, that would be amazing. But no, this is from Squaresoft, and this is the Collection of Mana. This is a truly remarkable game. You get Final Fantasy Adventure, Secret of Mana, and Trials of Mana on one cartridge. It is a great collection of games that I think a lot of people have a fondness for, but I don't think know as well as they probably should. If you enjoy RPGs, this is one that you need to check out. It's a little bit different RPG approach than you're going to experience with like a Final Fantasy or a Dragon Quest or something like that, but still amazing games. A release from Limited Run, and not something I feature often on this channel, as I'm not the biggest fan of Limited Run games, but I do think this is one of those kind of ports that needs to be talked about because it wasn't something I think many of us thought we would ever see released here in today's day and age, and that is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the video game. This is such a wonderful game. It is a traditional beat 'em up. It looks like it sprung to life from the Scott Pilgrim vs. the World comic strips, or comic books that Brian Lee O'Malley did. It features pixel art based on Brian Lee O'Malley's artwork. You can play as all the members of Sex Bob-omb, Knives Chow, or Ramona Flowers. It's just really cool. It's one of those games that I think we all wanted to see remastered, we all wanted to see come back, and we all wanted to experience just the beauty and the power of this game between the amazing gameplay and the Anamanaguchi soundtrack. It's something that it's nearly perfect. It's just a wonderful game, and kudos to Limited Run for putting out a physical release of it. Back to first party Nintendo, back to a really remarkable port that I did not see coming at all, that I never thought was going to happen, and that is Mario vs. Donkey Kong. This is based on the Game Boy Advance game that released, and it's a faithful port of that game. It's a really fun puzzle platformer. There's some really challenging levels and some really great level designs that you're able to work your way through. And the entire job is to make your way through each level, collect the presents, and collect the minis, and then defeat Donkey Kong at the end. It's as simple as you can get as far as a game goes, but there's some creative puzzles to solve, some creative level designs to work your way through. It's just a wonderful game. Next up, one that I was kind of surprised to see come out on the Switch, because it's not really a series that I ever really got into, but I'm excited to have it, and it's been nice to to play these games and kind of go back to them at my own pace and not feel like I'm being forced to play them like when they originally released, when everyone told me how brilliant they were. And it's the Metal Gear Solid collection. This is a really wonderful series of games that, as I've gotten older and kind of gotten away from that that push of everyone telling me these are the best games ever and me just not connecting with them at the time, the further I get away from that time frame, the more I enjoy these titles. And they're stealthy, they're really, really intriguingly designed, and it's Hideo Kojima before he became self-indulgent, I guess is the best way to put it. Like, he's a brilliant game director, but I think he can kind of lose the forest for the trees to kind of get lost in his own genius at times. And we do get that a little bit as we get further into the Metal Gear Solid series, but at least the first two games are fantastic. And it's worth playing these, if for no other reason than you need to experience why everyone thinks they're so remarkable. So I was wrong. I do have this one. This is Marvel vs. Capcom Collection. It's amazing. It's a wonderful game. It is probably my most anticipated title from last year. Fantastic collection of arcade ports. You get MVC2. That's really all you need. But you also get Marvel vs. Capcom, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Street Fighter. You get X-Men Children of the Atom. You get Marvel Superheroes, and you get The Punisher. There might be another one I'm missing. We'll check back later. If there is, we'll laugh at me right now. But anyway, amazing collection, fantastic games. They all play brilliantly well, and the Switch handles these all so well. It's a brilliant collection, and I cannot wait for Fighting Collection 2 to come out. I love Donkey Kong. I love the Donkey Kong Country games. I loved Donkey Kong Country Returns on the Wii, and I've loved all the updates we've received for that game throughout the years, and Donkey Kong Country Returns HD is no stranger to that. It's a wonderful title. It's a great remaster. It's a great retelling of that fantastic game. It still looks incredible. It still plays incredible. It still sounds incredible. And that's really all you need for a Donkey Kong game. It is still very difficult, but it is super fun. Check this one out if you haven't done so. It's a great port. So is Tropical Freeze. I don't own that one. I've borrowed it a couple of times, but I never really felt compelled to buy it because I own it on the Wii U, and I didn't feel that the Wii U port to the Switch was enough of an upgrade to consider buying it. But it is also great. So if you haven't played it and you want to pick it up, the Switch version is great, although I do believe the Wii U version is a little bit cheaper. This is one of my absolute favorite games of the last 3 generations. And every time I play it, it's brilliant because the game is just a masterpiece of design and shows what Ubisoft is capable of doing when Ubisoft stops trying to make a buck on every single thing that they do. When they just make a great game, they make an amazing title like Rayman Legends. This is the definitive edition collection. This has literally everything that ever released for it on one cartridge. Some of the best platforming experiences you will ever have is on this game. It is a beautiful thing to see. Ubisoft Artworks did all of the art and all of the hand-drawn animations in this. It is just a stunning piece of art to see, and I encourage everybody to play it. I have been incredibly excited by the HD 2D kind of methodology of approaching games on the Nintendo Switch generation. I loved the Octopath games. And one of my favorites that they have released, that Squaresoft and Enix did, is the Dragon Quest III HD 2D remaster. It is one of the best looking games on the Nintendo Switch. It takes a beautiful pixel art style, meshes it with updated HD visuals. The gameplay is solid. It's a wonderful RPG experience. I can't wait for the first 2 HD 2D remasters to come out as well. I'm really looking forward to having those. I just absolutely love this game. It is challenging and fun, and it shows kind of the evolution, like that first evolutionary leap that Dragon Quest took, because it went from a very kind of insulated experience to being a little bit more broad and a little bit more expansive with HD3, with Dragon Quest III. It's a brilliant game. This is one that, kind of like The Witcher 3, I needed to get this on the Switch for me to appreciate it, because I just did not enjoy this on its Wii release, and it wasn't something that I really had a lot of fun with. But I am enjoying The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword on the Nintendo Switch. I think this is a really solid remaster. I think it cleans up the visuals considerably and makes the game significantly more appealing to look at. And that's a lot of what the problem I had with Skyward Sword was, that it was kind of ugly on the Wii. Just because the Wii was kind of ugly, it didn't really have the best graphics processor, didn't really output things beautifully well. But it also didn't really serve itself great with the motion controls. Like, as much as I love the Wii Remote, and I loved the concept of using the Wii Remote as a sword and shield, it just didn't work. Like, it didn't click for me. I enjoy this one with the Pro Controller. I enjoy it with the Joy-Cons. It's something where I think we needed to see that kind of technological advancement from the accelerometer experience on the Wii to what we get now with the Joy-Cons, with kind of their more intuitive gesture controls that we see on the Switch. I really do enjoy this one on this console. This is one that I was really interested in when it first got announced, and I skipped it. I completely just kind of set it out of my mind when I didn't pick it up immediately, and it was one that I regret not playing at the time, but I was excited to see it get an HD remaster here on the Nintendo Switch as well as other consoles. This is Kingdoms of Amalur: Re-Reckoning. This is based on a story created by, I want to say, R.A. Salvatore and Todd McFarlane. And there were a few other people involved as well that I can't remember off the top of my head. And this released originally back on the 360 and the PS3, and it was a great RPG from what I understand, but it was buggy. There was some kind of behind-the-scenes stuff going on with the studio that had some issues, and it got kicked out the door, and that was it. And then THQ Nordic got the rights to it and did a remaster of it and cleaned up a lot of the problems. And what we got was a really compelling and a really solidly designed action RPG, telling a compelling story with a great look. And it's just a solid experience overall. It's a really fun game that I think is served better now on a console like the Nintendo Switch than it was on its original releases on the 360 and the PS3. It's a fun, fun game. All right, another RPG now, and yeah, there's a lot of them on this list, so I guess if you don't like RPGs, you're going to be able to fast forward through half of it. But for me, this is one that legitimately never a remaster I thought I'd see. I was hopeful because we did see it get re-released on the SNES Mini, but I didn't expect to see it released on the Switch or to get a remaster in the vein that we did. So to get Super Mario RPG remastered in HD on the Nintendo Switch and re-released is remarkable to me. Memorable characters, fantastic combat, a wonderfully silly and fun story, and it's just something that I think is kind of the perfect Mario RPG experience. And it was a great way to kind of set the stage for what was to come with not only the Paper Mario series, but also the Mario and Luigi series. There's a lot of nods back to this original game from both of those, and this is a wonderful remaster and a great retelling of that original story. This is, I think, of the now 40 games that I've gone through at this point, this, I do want to say, I think is the necessary RPG. If you're only going to get one RPG remaster on the Nintendo Switch, this is the one you need to do. Because the Final Fantasy 1 through 6 Pixel remasters not only get you 6 games for the price of one, you get 6 incredible titles that are remastered just beautifully well. Just look incredible. There's some significant quality of life experiences that are just improved upon in every way, shape, or form. The gameplay is wonderful. The stories are great. The music is magnificent. There's some great bonuses and things like that in this collection, and it's just a wonderful game to have. I am just tickled that this exists. I love how many Final Fantasy games from the core series were released on the Nintendo Switch, and how many great games there are for you to play in this series, but if you can only pick one, get the 1 through 6 Pixel remasters. Finally, a first-party Nintendo game that I missed out on when it originally released, just because I didn't really care for the idea of taking a 2D game and making it into a first-person shooter. But I've come around on the experience, and it's something where I'm excited now to be able to get back to Metroid Prime Remastered here on the Nintendo Switch. These were games that initially didn't appeal to me. They weren't made for me. I'm not a huge first-person shooter fan, so it wasn't something where I was going to be really intrigued by it or really kind of inspired by what they were offering. But the further away I got from the initial release, and the more I saw people play it, and specifically my friend Corey and my friend Felicia, who actually told me how much she loved it, was something where I reevaluated things and I watched people play it, and I got really intrigued by what the design elements were and kind of the effort put in to making this classic 2D franchise into an amazing first-person shooter. Not third-person, 3D first-person shooter. It's a wonderful game. It is an absolutely remarkable port, and just something that I hope we get Metroid Prime 2 and 3 HD remasters as well, even if we don't get them physically. I hope they come out, because I'm super excited for Metroid Prime 4 when that drops on the Nintendo Switch 2. It's going to be an amazing game, and this one right here is a great way to whet your appetite for it. 42, the answer to the life, universe, and everything. That is the number of games I suggested today. These are the essential ports that I feel everyone should own on the Nintendo Switch, but I've only got a collection of about 250 games. I know there's ones I'd miss, so let me know in the comments down below, what do you feel are the essential Nintendo Switch ports? Curious by its absence, as always, is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I know everyone is going to suggest that one, but I don't own it physically because it is evergreen. It is never something I was going to trade in, so never felt the need to own it physically. I'm always going to have it solidly on my hard drive. But let me know in the comments down below, which ones do you suggest? If this is your first time here, check out the link on screen right now if you want to see more Switch hidden gems that I suggest. Be sure to click the thumbs up button. The engagement helps the channel out. I'd love to have you stick around, so click subscribe. I do a couple videos a week when I don't sound like I've been gargling asphalt. And until next time, I've been Jay. Appreciate you spending a little bit of time with me. Remember to play more games, stay square, and take care. I'll talk to you soon.